Welcome everybody. This is the SD/Easy workshop for the month, and I am working on a beautiful Freedom 3 by Estey. Now I will also be referencing your easy instruments as well, the easy 1s, 2s, 4s, 10s. I did put a worksheet out that Sean will be screen sharing, and the title of my workshop today is Ideas for Setting Up Popular Songs, because this seems to be the number one problem is, okay, what do I do with this stuff over here, and what do I do with the sounds? And basically the bottom line for any song is, where do my hands go to make the song sound pretty? That's basically the bottom line for anything. So if you have a question and I'm in the middle of telling you something, and you can either raise your hand, or like I said, you can do this and either Sean or Joni will catch it, or if you want, you can actually unmute yourself and interrupt me. I'm okay with that. Just scream at me and say, hey, I'm lost. And we'll make sure that you get your questions answered. And you do not need to be seeing my face here, so I'm going to try to show more of the keyboard, and I see the lighting here isn't all that good to be able to see where everything is, but basically you'll be able to see where things are on the instrument, and it's the same with all the instruments. What's wonderful about the Esteys and the Lowrys is that you work your setting up from left to right. That's always the number one question that we teachers seem to get, is I don't know what kind of music style, or how do I set this one up? Well, the first one I'm going to start with is Good Morning Starshine. That's from the Broadway musical Hair, and we're going to push some buttons. This is not going to be something where it's super easy to set up and we're going to learn some stuff. Then we're going to go back to some easier things, and we're going to repeat what we're learning in this song with some of the other songs that we have today. Good Morning Starshine. What I'm going to do is first pick a rhythm. You know why? Because it's not in song setup. If it's not in song setup, I have to pick something over here. Well, the first thing I need to see is, what is the time signature? What's a time signature? The time signature are these two numbers right here, and it says 4/4. That tells me 4 beats to a measure, and it also tells me that I can use any music style I want except for one. I may not use the waltz because the waltz counts to 3. So any of these other ones I'm open to use. And I have chosen on this one something a little bit bouncy, which would be standards, and I am going to scroll to Gypsy Jazz. Now on the Freedom 3, there are 4 rhythms underneath. Cheryl needs to come in the room. Come on in, Cheryl. Okay. There are 4 rhythms underneath this standard button. Well, how do I get to them? Use your information window. When you push standards, you're going to have 2 in the window. Swing Time and Gypsy Jazz. An Easy 3 also has 2 rhythms listed in the window. How do you get from one to the other? Well, you use your scroll button, and it will put arrows in front of which one you're on. You can go to Swing Time or Gypsy Jazz. How do I get to the other 2? Well, I go to something over here that says Style 2. Style 2. Push that, and now I get 2 more standards. I get the big band, and I get Boogie Woogie. On your Easy 3, your Easy 3 is the only other one that gives you 2 in the window. And the 2 in the windows would be either your 2 standards, and then your second one would be either a pianist or a guitarist. If you are on Easy 4s, Easy 10s, you're going to have 3 rhythms under each button. And your performers are listed over on this side. Full band, pianist, and guitarist. And you can choose which one of those and try them all, because it's fun. It's fun. If you're on an Easy 1, you have 2 rhythms under each one of these buttons. If you have standard all by itself is standard full band. You don't even have to push a second button. It's just full band standard. You have a little button over here that says pianist. and that will get to your second rhythm, which will be the pianist version of the standard. It's a completely different rhythm from what standard full band is. Try them, because the more you know about your rhythms, the easier it's going to be to choose which songs do you want to play on those rhythms. So I am choosing for this one standard group 1, style 1, and it's going to be the Gypsy Jazz. Now what I didn't write is what kind of a tempo I want. It does come up to 114, which is okay. I'm going to boost it up to 120. All right, now lower sounds. One thing I did not put on my worksheet, if you get a worksheet, if you've downloaded it, or if you ask me for one, you have a set over here that says lower, and you go, what is lower? It's lower left-hand chord sounds, and this is the same on all the instruments. So you may choose what you want for your lower chord sound. And it brings up ensemble, which is fine. And if I just start playing, can you hear the hum of the chord? If you can't and you want to hear more, then you want to go to the lower volume, which is right over here. All your volumes are over here. And make sure it's high enough that you can hear the hum. If you can't, or if it's too loud, you can lower it. So that is your lower chord sound. If you don't like it with the ensemble, which is strings, you can change it to organ or piano and guitar, just whatever you want to make it. Now, normally, your automatic setup, I forgot to put that on. My automatic setup will pick something for me. Now, the automatic setup is a great button, because what that does is it chooses a tempo and it chooses some sounds for you. But you want to work left to right, because if you're over here choosing sounds, and I know Joni did a workshop on this about a week ago, if you're over here figuring out a wonderful sound, and then you come over here and push your rhythm style, what happens? It's gone. It erases it completely. That's the right worksheet. Yeah, that's the right worksheet. I just didn't include the lowers. I decided to add that in later.
Yeah, I accidentally put one in the chat that was something about tabs, and I was like, whoopsie.
Oh. No.
So
Nope, that's not going to work.
if you have a computer, it only works on computers, but if you have a computer, you can download this worksheet in the chat option. There's a chat feature on the bottom of the screen. Just look through that, and there should be this worksheet. It's the one I just sent. I sent something before, and that is wrong. So make sure you get one that looks like this. If not, that's okay. Just take some notes.
Yep. And with your easy, you do not have a gypsy background on your easies. So what you might want to do is push traditional guitarist. If you don't have traditional guitarist, try your standards. Try a standard full band, or try a standard pianist, which will get, you're looking for something that's going to give you a little bit of a bounce. Something, just a little bit of a bounce at about 120. You can slow it down if you want. Now the next thing I want to do is choose some sounds. Now it's already chosen a sound for me. It's actually combined two sounds. Did you know on your Esteys and Lowrys you can actually put 3 sounds together at one time? You can. Now if you're on an Easy 4 or an Easy 10 where they split the keyboard and you get the second sound on the bottom, you're not going to be able to put any 3 sounds on top until you turn off. There's going to be a button that says Orchestra to lower. Turn that off, and now you will be able to put all 3 sounds on the upper keyboard. But then don't play anything down here, because there's not going to be anything down here. So what we're working with is we're going to combine 3 different sounds. And I'm going to push guitars, and it comes up to a jazz guitar. And then I'm going to push the more button, and I'm going to scroll until it says flute, because what I'm looking for is some kind of more like a popsy, folksy type of a thing. You know, hair was big when the folk music was out, so I'm looking for a flute. And then I want them to be together, so I push them at the same time, or I hold one down longer than the other. Now, the Freedom 3 is the only one of all these instruments where you can actually control the volume levels of those 2 orchestrals. If you're on an Easy 10, any of the other Easies, you can't. You just combine the 2 of them, and that's it, and it's good. But on the Easy 3, you can actually have more guitar than flute or more flute than guitar. So you can combine this so it's whatever levels you want. And that's where it says orchestral volume, orchestral 1 and orchestral 2. Now, how do I know which is which? The red one is orchestral 1. So if I push that, I get lots of guitar. If I turn that down a little bit and push the green one, which is orchestral 2, I want that all the way to the top because I really want a little bit more flute than I want guitar. Now I have more flute than guitar. That's going to work for me. But aha, I said that I could do 3 sounds. What's my third sound that I want to add? And this works for all the instruments. The organ buttons will always layer with whatever you use for your orchestrals. So now I can push organ and get that along with those 2 sounds. So now I have a great big fat sound. And I'm going to use this for Good Morning Starshine. And if I lost you on some of these things that we showed, don't worry, I'm going to repeat them in other songs. All right, so I spent more time on the first one just to show you what some of these buttons are. Listen also for the duet harmony because I will be adding the duet. Now that's different than layering your instruments. If you layer 3 instruments together, it gives you a big fat sound, but you're only going to be playing 1 note at a time. The minute I turn on a duet or a trio or other harmony in AOC, it's going to fill in the harmony notes and it's going to make it big and fat. So here we go with Good Morning Starshine. Make sure my drums are to the top because I like having good drum sounds. Add the duet. This one. And I'm just doing a fade out, and on this instrument and the Lowrys, the Easies, there is no fade out button like there is in the bigger organs. So what do? You take your foot on your expression pedal and just pull it back slowly as you fade out the background. That's a very common way to end some of your newer songs. All right. I did mention a lot of things in here already. So are there any questions about anything we've done just on the first song? Nope, we're good so far? Perfect. You guys are awesome. All right, let's go to the next song, Crazy. Now, for those of you that don't want to do the hard stuff, what do? Do the easy stuff. What's the easy stuff? Song setup. Song setup. Now, an easy 1 does not have a song setup, but when you get to the instruments that have song setup, this is the #1 thing all the way up to the great big arias that make your playing easy. It gives you a great suggestion to start a song. I'm going to play a little bit of Crazy, and I'm going to just scroll until I get to Crazy. And when I get to it in the window, you touch Select. And all of a sudden, all the lights change, and you're done. And then all you have to do is play. And on this instrument, it comes up to country, country love. And on the easies, it would be country full band at about 78. Now we're also going to work on today the glide. The glide, I want you to notice the glide. Country songs are perfect for gliding because you want to twang your guitars. And I know Joni did a nice job on this the other day as well. So you can twang your guitars. And I'm using a foot switch, and I'm using the left foot switch. And when you wear guys, look out. When you wear your high heels, it sometimes makes your volume go like this, and it makes it a little more difficult. So I actually lift my foot a little bit off the foot switch, and then I almost do like a knee bend, because if my knee goes to the left, my foot goes to the left as well. And I touch that foot switch, and what it does is it detunes the entire top keyboard. Well, I'm going to play the note, and then when I release my foot, it glides that note back up to the original position. Now be careful, don't play the song and accidentally be leaning on that left foot switch, because it's going to sound like everything's completely out of tune. So I have set up crazy now with the select, and it turned on everything for me. It turned on a tempo, it selected an introduction, and it selected a sound for me. So I'm going to play a little bit of crazy, and we're going to work on the glide. And just to show you that you don't have to spend a lot of time doing this. You can just hit song setup, select, and go, and it works. Okay, now one note about song setup. It's going to give you a great suggestion. The one thing it will not turn on for you is the auto setup or the rhythm preset or the style setup. Style setup or auto setup will not turn on. That works from this organ all the way up to the arias. When you hit song setup, it's always going to be the sound or sounds that the computer guy, Bill Curry, decided to put into that particular song. So the next time you go back to play, if you're going to start from here again, if you're starting just with music style because your song was not in song setup, make sure you go back and turn your song setup or your your auto setup or your style setup back on. Because when you hit your song setup and touch select, auto setup goes out. The sounds that it's choosing are specific to that song. Or you could always play another song. Doesn't matter. That's good. All right, we're going to go on to a song that most people think they can't play until they get to a big organ. Now, we've had this in class already a couple times, and it's Hotel California. And a lot of people have said, you know what, I have a little organ. I can't play Hotel California. That's a big song. So you can play it. And yes, it's another guitar song, and I didn't realize that actually until after I really started doing the worksheet. But if I go to country, acoustic guitar, and that's not in style 2, that's going to be in style 1. Or if you are on one of the easies, it's country full band, but you're going to up the tempo to 140. So that means you can play crazy on a slower tempo. And then we can play on the easies the same song at a different song on a higher tempo and get a whole different result. So I just want to show that you can play. I'm not going to play the whole thing. You can play the big songs on some of these instruments. So I'm on country, acoustic guitar, 140, and I'm not going to use the intro ending. Notice I haven't talked at all about intros and endings yet. Sometimes specific songs need their own intros. How do you start this song? You're going to start it with the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 chords. The first 8 chords, and that's the entire chord pattern, just start it with those chords. Everybody knows what song it is just from this. Let's play the chords. I'm going to hit stop. You just wrote your own introduction. How about that? So you don't have to be an advanced super player in order to write your own introduction. Sometimes just the chord pattern of the song is enough to work for you. Everybody knew exactly what song I was playing just from me playing the first series of chords. Now, don't forget, I also want you to put your duet button on, because if you remember, the Eagles is a group band, and they have 100 guitars in their band, so we want it to sound like there's just more than one guitar. So I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I will play a little bit of it, just so you know. We've already played the intro, and here we go, just with guitars. See how it sounds like a lot of guitars? Combine how many instruments? 3. Let's add an organ, and we're going to get an even thicker sound. But you, even though you have a smaller instrument, you can play some of the bigger songs that you think, that I can only play that if I'm on a great big instrument. No, you don't have to do that. Play it on your instrument. It's going to sound fabulous. If you love a song, you'll sit down and work on it. So play the songs that you love, and we will help you put it on your instrument. Okay. Now, the next one I'm going to do is called Midnight Cowboy, and I am going to show you how the intro ending button works. I haven't used it up to this point. Yes?
Excuse me. Sorry, I was trying to find the unmute. On the organ sound, which organ sound did you add?
I added an organ. I just added the sweet organ.
Sweet organ. Thank you.
You can try any of them and see which ones you like, but adding an organ is always going to thicken that sound, what we call a pad, and it's going to thicken that sound up. So it's going to still sound like guitars. It's just going to sound like now there's even more of them. So an organ, just adding that one button organ will will help with your setups. Okay, Midnight Cowboy is a really nice song. It's from the motion picture Midnight Cowboy. Lots of different ways to play this, and I'm not going to use country. I'm going to move over. I'm going to use a mellow, easy 8-beat. Now on your easies, on your 1s, 2s, 4s, 3s, 10s, use your smooth full band, which is easy 4/4. And anywhere between 64 and 75 is going to work, so let's just put it at 68. That'll be fine. Now, sometimes you want to preset a sound so that you can actually change the sound in the middle. And if you have an easy 10, you have presets. Presets are fabulous because you can just go from one sound to the other. Those of us on the rest of the instruments underneath that, we don't have rhythm presets to go to, or presets to go to. So we have to sometimes do a one-button push over here if we want to change sounds in the middle of a song, especially on a Freedom 3 when we do not have the luxury of going to the lower keyboard. An easy 4 and an easy 10, you can actually do that. Have one sound up here and a second sound right here on that lower keyboard. But if we set something up already, we can just do a one-button push and make sure that we have the right sound that we're looking for. And I want to preset in the more a harmonica. All right, now, how do I get back to my guitars? I preset in the more, the guitars went out. I'm going to turn auto setup off and auto setup right back on. It's going to bring back up my regular sound from the auto setup, but it's going to keep that harmonica sound waiting for me in the more button. So I can start off with piano and strings, and then later on in the song just touch the more button, and it's going to wipe out my piano and strings and bring my harmonica button right in. Now, I told you we were going to work with intro ending. Once you have everything set up, if you touch the intro ending before you start to play, the first chord that you touch will trigger your introduction. Not all introductions work with the song that you're trying to play, as what we found out in the last song. It was easier to just start it with the chords. Everybody knew what you were playing. The intro probably would have introduced a whole different song. So on this one, before you start playing, touch that intro button. I'm going to trigger it with my finger. When I'm done with the song, I'm going to touch that intro ending button again, and now, because everything's already going, it becomes the ending of the song. So I used auto setup on this. I will probably also use some gliding because harmonicas like to glide. I'm reading my sheet. The fill, now how do you do a fill? Fills are either the right hand kick switch or it can be the fill button. So depending on which one is easier for you, if you see me reach up and do a fill, that's what I'm doing, is I'm filling it in. I'm adding some extra stuff. Or you can kick to the right, and it will give you that fill in. All right, so let's start with the intro. I've got everything set up the way I want it. I've got my harmonica chosen in here. I'm just not activating it yet. And the intro ending button is on. So now my first chord will activate the intro ending. Any questions so far? You work left to right. Unless you're doing song setup, you work left to right. You find which music style you want. Then you can actually set up. Auto setup is going to choose something for you. Then you can actually do what you want over here. You can preset some things, or you can just do one button pushes in the middle. So you can change a sound. If you have an easy 10 or an easy 4, if you want that second sound, just take your hand and put it on the lower keyboard, and it'll give you that second sound because that will help with some of your songs. Okay, I wanted to do a rock and roll number, and I am running out of time because I spend too much time talking. That's my problem. All right, we're going to do American Pie. We just did this one in one of our classes, and what we found out is that with this song, we get to start, stop. We're going to use the start, stop button because we're going to use several rhythms in the song. I'm not going to play the whole song. I've just chosen a few sections. But we're going to have to touch the start and stop button to go to the next rhythm. Why? Because if I don't hit the start stop button and just push another rhythm, the tempo doesn't change. It will stay the same. For example, if I am playing a march and it comes up at 105 and I want to change to a ballad, if I don't stop it in between, I now get this at 105. So in order to get everything to change, including the tempo, I have to hit that start-stop button first and then hit a rhythm. Now, just because we don't have memorizable, savable presets on these smaller organs doesn't mean that we can't play these big songs. Yes, you can. Yes, you can, even on these little instruments. So, for American Pie, we're going to use rock 8-beat or rock full band on the easies. We're also going to use the 50s rock, which is in style 2, and it's on the bottom. So you're going to have to do a 2-button push. Style 2, and then scroll down to the 50s rock and roll. If you are on the easies, it's going to be easy rock band, full band, and then when you get to the second part, you're going to hit start, stop, and then you're going to touch guitarist and add the drums. So yeah, it's a little bit more stuff to do, but guess what? You can still do it. You can still do it. Everybody's going to say, wow, that sounds so good. All right, so we're going to start with rock, full band, or rock 8-beat. Touch style 2, scroll to 50s rock and roll, and I'm actually going to start with a drum solo, which if you remember what a drum solo is, it's a no chord and a fill-in. Stop right there, okay? But what we did is we just switched from one rhythm to another because in this song there's actually 3 different rhythms that you can go back and forth to. So if you missed that one, if you go to Patreon, it was a Wednesday class that we did American Pie. But the point is, even if you've got one of these little instruments, you can still make arrangements on these littler instruments. It might take a few more buttons to push. But that way later on, when Sean calls you and says, you need to get one with programmable presets, and you can say, I know why I need to, because I have to play American Pie and I want to put them all on presets. All right. I did choose Walkin' After Midnight only because I wanted you to realize that sometimes a song like this, ignore. I want you to ignore pretty much what it says up here. Okay, because you have to remember, most of your easy playbooks, you know, these were all done, except the ones that were actually done by Lowry. Easy Play was done by Hal Leonard for all instruments, digital pianos and Wurlitzers and Rolands and Casios and all this stuff. So everything that they use in that upper corner is a suggestion only, and it doesn't always work on your Lowry. So I want you to just know that it's not always going to be country for something like Walking After Midnight. A shuffle actually works the best, and it's going to be in different places on all your instruments. Try your gospel. Gospel gives you a great shuffle. On the Easy 10, it's mixed guitar. Now, if you've got the smaller Easies and you don't have a shuffle, see me after class. No, no, then it's absolutely fine to go to your country full band. But what I'm trying to get you to do is push the buttons on your instrument and look for some of these different rhythms. So on your gospel here, you're going to have a shuffle that does this. Okay, we're going to stop right there because I am running out of time. All right. Now, I do want to also show you that you have in your instrument pre-recorded songs, not just song setup, but pre-recorded songs. And this goes all the way down to the Easy 1. Now, what those are, it's like taking the teacher home with you. So you can get those songs in your ear. And your songs in the Easy 1, it's the yellow Conductor Magic book that we use. All those songs are in there. And those songs are also in the bigger instruments. They just keep adding more and more. And it's just a wonderful way to take the teacher home and be able to play along with the teacher, or be able to get the setup. You can actually use these for song setups so that you can get the setup for what you might have done in class. So you go to the songs, not song setup. Go to the song button and scroll to one you want. And I just picked music, music. When you find it in the screen, you touch select. And by touching select, it's now going to play the song. On the Freedom 3, there's actually a button called Melody Off. Now you play it. And it'll keep playing chords. Okay. Now you can also turn your songs off at that point. Just turn off that songs button. And it should leave the background right where it is. So now that you've played along with it and you've got it in your ears, now you play the song, because that setup and that tempo will still be there. That if you didn't learn anything else today, if this is the only thing that you learned today, then you are 100% successful. Use the songs that are already in there to be like taking your teacher home with you, so that you can just have success playing, especially what's in that first book. And I know there are some of you out there that are in the Conductor Magic class. So let it help you. Let your instrument help you. All right, I am going to go to the last song in the book. I have not done waltz. I have not done 6/8 ballads. I have not done Latin. Okay, the waltz is the only one that counts to 3. The Latin counts to 4. And your ballads will normally count to 6/8, and that's actually a whole nother lesson in itself. But there are a couple more buttons that I really want you to learn. Yeah, there's some more of the advanced stuff, but that's okay. And the song is Mac the Knife. Mac the Knife. We'll end with Mac the Knife today.
All
right,
so before you start on that one, you can do that as kind of a closer
Oh,
here.
okay, okay.
And I'm just going to mention a couple things before we get to that and adjourn. Announcements. Just one big thing I want to make sure everybody knows about. We have a concert coming up this week, and it's actually pretty soon. So let me show you that here. You should all be aware of our website at this point. You probably had to go through it to get to this class today. So just to make sure you know how to use it, this is the most important page. It says classes and events right here. And as you scroll down, all the classes are separated by type. Our weekly variety class this week is on Thursday. So that is at 12 p.m. Arizona, 2 p.m. Eastern time. Today, what you are in is a product feature class. So if you have an Estey, this is for you. Also, easy instruments encouraged. And the next one we have is tomorrow. If you have an SU series or an A series instrument, or if you're curious about how those work in general. And finally, this part right here is just if you know somebody who might want to learn music and get started for free, they can do that right here. And this is what I mentioned in the beginning. All the way on the bottom, it has our concert for this week. It's called A Journey Through Time, Zoom musical. So that's at noon on Wednesday this week, Wednesday the 27th. So make sure you call out of work or retirement that day and be here or be square. So I'm going to send it back to Dawn and you can close us out with Mac the Knife.
Okay. I wanted to show another feature that is actually exclusive to the Freedom 3 in these smaller instruments, and it's called Orchestra Octave. So again, I'm not going to set this up first. I'm going to go here first, left to right. So I'm going to go to a standard. I want something bouncy. I'm going to go to a standard swing. So I'm going to scroll to swing time. And it should come up to, comes up to 117. I'm going to change the tempo to 150 because I want something to go a little bit faster. Now I want the sounds to be, if you're on your easies, your standard full band, which is the Frank and the Count, or your traditional guitarist, which is more like a jazz club, those will also work because they've got that bounce to it. And that's what we're looking for with Mac the Knife. Now, good horns would work here. I've used an awful lot of guitars today and a lot of organ sounds. Let's talk about horns. So it comes up with a woodwind with a clarinet. Now, that's a great instrument to start. A lot of people in the beginning classes ask me, Dawn, where's middle C on these instruments? Well, it could be here, or it could be here, or it could be here. Which one sounds the best? Well, you might say, I'm comfortable with my hand here, but I don't like how it sounds. It's too low. This instrument here has something called orchestral octave. And what it will do is it will put you in the right register for where your hand is comfortable. So if I'm comfortable down in this lower area, I can actually make my octave go up. Yeah, I can even go up one more. Oops, that gets a little screechy. I have a tendency to like it down in the lower section. Or if I'm here and I want it lower, you can change the octave and leave your hand in one spot. So just be aware of that. So instead of going, oh my gosh, that's too high of a sound, but I don't like playing up here, or I'm going to run out of keys if I play up here, use your orchestral octave to bring everything either higher or lower into the octave. Now that's not transposing, that's a whole different thing. Into the octave that's going to make it sound the best for you. Now, if you're on an easy, that's exactly what you have to do, is just change your hand from one octave to the next until you find the octave that fits the sound that you're using to make it work for you. So that's what I wanted to show on this, was the clarinet, or you could go to the brass and it would be a trumpet. And again, to me that sounds too high for a trumpet unless you're striving for a piccolo trumpet. Touch the octave down, and all of a sudden it sounds better. It sounds right to my ear. Now, what sounds good to me may not sound good to you. So you have to use what's going to be the best sound and the best range for what your ear wants to hear from this. All right, so here we go with Mac the Knife, and I am going to use the introduction just for fun. And let's start with that clarinet. put them both. Okay. I want to thank everybody for coming today. I hope you learned one new thing. If you learned one new thing, then you are 100% successful. If it was a review for some of you who have been coming to these for a while, that's a wonderful thing too. But hopefully you found one thing that made you go, wow, I didn't realize that that button was on there, and I think I'm going to go home and try it. So hopefully this was a good session today. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming. Sean and Joni, thank you for being there and helping me out. And I have to go to another class at 2 o'clock, so I got to get ready for that. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to email any of us. The email for this store in the Villages where you can reach me to ask me anything about this class is 5028@FletcherMusic.com. Don't hesitate to ask me a question because I'm always here to answer. If you're one of Joni's students, go to her email, or Sean, go to Sean's email, call them. We're here to help, whatever we can do to make you sound good on your organs. Remember, the bottom line is, where do these fingers go to make the song sound pretty? That's it. That's the bottom line. All right. Thank you guys for coming so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn. Bye-bye.
Bye.